So, topic 7, carbon cycle. We never say carbon in the carbon cycle. Let's get into it. So, I've got a typical exam carbon cycle here, but they probably give you a few more included bits. I've just put some numbers on 1 to 10. So we're just going to go through and try and name the things that appear. So yeah, name the carbon compound in the atmosphere. Yeah, so it's not carbon in the atmosphere, it is carbon dioxide. I'm going to put CO2, just because I can't be able to write carbon dioxide. In the exam, if you write CO2, high 2, you are wrong, so don't do that. The algae makes its own carbon compounds. Name 3. Well, it does photosynthesis. It makes glucose. It makes amino acids because it needs nitrates from the soil as well to make nitrates, to make amino acids, sorry. It makes starch. It makes cellulose. It makes lipids. I could even say chlorophyll. And glucose, starch, and cellulose are all carbohydrates. Glucose being the monomer, starch and cellulose being the polymers. So yeah, so I would say, where are we here? Yeah, so when an animal eats the algae or the plant, it's taking in glucose, starch, cellulose, lipids, amino acids or proteins, I could say as well. So amino acids are joined into proteins. Monomer, polymer again. Name the endothermic reaction shown by number 3. Well, that's just good old photosynthesis. Again, not endothermic because it takes in heat energy. The energy in the products of photosynthesis, the glucose, contain more energy than the reactants, carbon dioxide and water. So, and that energy comes from light. What moves back to the atmosphere from the algae? Well, it's carbon dioxide again. Yet again, it's carbon dioxide. So that's arrow number 4. Number 5, 4, 5, and 6 all represent which exothermic reaction? Well, yeah, it's just respiration. But yeah, if it's producing CO2 back to the atmosphere, it is aerobic as well. So yeah, so we basically got a photosynthesis arrow coming in, and then we've got our respiration arrows going back. Every living thing has to do respiration, and therefore, if it's doing aerobic, it's going to be releasing CO2. 6a, this is on the microorganisms bit. What 3 abiotic conditions will microorganisms perform 6 quickly? Well, they like it warm. Think enzymes. They want it aerobic, as in plus oxygen for aerobic respiration. And they want it moist, allows diffusion. Yeah, so those are the 3 main ones: warm, moist, and aerobic. You could argue like a neutral pH as well, but those are 3 in the syllabus. So if I want to stop decomposition by microorganisms, then I will make it dry, I will make it cold, and I will make it anaerobic. And that's how we kind of like preserve our foods in those 3 ways. You put it in the fridge to make it cold, dry it out so it's not got any water in it, and have it in a bag in an oxygen-free environment like crisps are. 6b, what is another name for the microorganisms in this diagram? Yeah, these are our decomposers. And name the process. It is, you can say it's decay stroke decomposition. So if you say decomposers, decompose things, it does actually get 2 marks. But yeah, it doesn't sound great. Number 8, give one abiotic condition that causes carbon-containing compounds to become fossil fuels rather than going into pathway 6. So this tends to be anaerobic. So if a tree falls down, it falls into an anaerobic swamp, it won't decay, and then layers of that get crushed together, and over millions and millions of years, it ends up as a type of rock called coal. And then the process given to microorganisms feeding on dead and waste material. Well, it's just the same as number 7, decay or decomposition. Number 10 is the same as number 9. It's carbon compound in plants and algae. 10 is the same as 9. Let me just go back to the diagram. Oop, I'm getting lost on the numbers. Right, so 9 is so 9 and 10 are just food from dead stuff. So 10 is the same as 9, which carbon compounds in plants and animals is difficult to digest and is therefore a term fibre in our diets. Well, that's just good old cellulose. Yeah, so often an animal will eat the plants, they'll take in the cellulose, so like a cow, then the bacteria start to feed on the cellulose in the gut. And we're just going to add a couple more bits to this carbon cycle, because really, if this is plus oxygen, I've done that badly. Sorry. This is going to be carbon dioxide if there's oxygen present. If there's not oxygen present, so minus O2, it can end up as methane, CH4. So when there's no oxygen present, you can still get methane produced, and that's like taking this into a more complex carbon cycle as well. So let's look at the water cycle, and yeah, let's just pop it into a diagram. So, well, into like a flow chart. So let's start with a plant. How does water, and we've got water in the soil. Well, water in the soil goes into a plant by osmosis. Okay, and then it's lost by transpiration. So then I get, this is water vapor. When I write water, I mean liquid. Then water vapor condenses into rain, which then rains on the soil. So this is precipitation. And I get back to water. So it's really, the biology is the knowledge of the osmosis and the transpiration. And to get from the roots to the leaves, you talk about the xylem. Yeah, so water's moving up the xylem from roots to leaves, and then it comes out of the leaves via the stomata, mainly. So that's it for the water cycle. Again, it's just knowledge of the plants that are related. Number 1, describe how root hair cells are adapted to take in water quickly and how they can absorb more mineral ions such as nitrates from a low concentration in the soil to a high concentration. So if we drew a root hair cell, they have this large surface area. So that's a root hair cell. So this is one cell on the outside of the root. It has a nucleus, it has a vacuole, and this is the soil out here, and water is going to be moving in by osmosis, and it's quickly because there's a high surface area due to the projection of the root. And then how do I take in ions, salt ions, like nitrates and magnesium? Well, they're going to come in by, so if I've got some magnesium here and there's not a lot inside, it's going to move by active transport. And therefore, if it's active transport, it needs energy from respiration. Therefore, this is going to be full of mitochondria. Yeah, so there's lots of mitochondria that supply the energy for active transport for magnesium to be brought in from the soil against its concentration gradient. And same for nitrates. So yeah, magnesium gets into the xylem, goes up to the leaves, it's used to make chlorophyll, and nitrates follow the same path but end up like reacting with glucose and making one of the 20 amino acids. They get joined together into a protein. Number two, in which abiotic conditions does transpiration occur at its highest rate? Well, if I want a leaf to lose water quickly, I need a so it's called low humidity in the air. I want it to be windy so that humid air doesn't build up, and I want it to be warm so I get most evaporation. So normally the windy and warm are good, but people get humidity the wrong way around and say high humidity is going to be good. But high humidity is like in like a jungle environment, and sweat doesn't leave the skin because it's got nowhere to go. The air is 100% humid. You've got water on your skin. It can't evaporate because it's got nowhere to go, and therefore it just sits on the skin. And three's a bit random, but yeah, 4 ways in which humans lose water every day. So we lose it in our urine, we lose it in our feces, we lose it when we breathe. So breathe, and we lose it when we sweat. There we go. Feces isn't controllable, really, so that's not controllable. Breathing isn't controllable. Sweating isn't controllable, as in I have to sweat. Admittedly, if I'm low on water, I can't sweat. But yeah, urines are only one that's variable. And remember, we have ADH that can control water loss. Again, it'd be another lesson if I started going through ADH. So yeah, that's it. But yeah, carbon cycle, never say carbon. It's carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. There is some methane as well, but that's it'd be a more detailed question. And just be aware that yeah, all the things you've been learning about, glucose, proteins, amino acids, all the molecules you learn about, all of them contain carbon. We are a carbon-based life form. We're doing a life science. It's called biology. Every single molecule we've met really, contains carbon. The only exception are mineral ions like magnesium and nitrates, and obviously water's got no carbon in it. But everything else, it's hard to think of anything that hasn't got carbon in it. Wonderful. Right, 12 minutes, good one.